Dyer wave music. Who is this? I don't know. It's me. It's Amid the Ruins. It's a guy who makes Dyer wave music. It's Amid the Ruins. Dyer wave music. What I've talked about in probably 100 articles at Jay's Analysis is the implementation of the AI smart grid and the giant smart cities, which is what IBM talks about publicly building. And that's where we're going, and that's what I think we have to be really concerned about. So all of these tensions, they are part of a long-term strategy to basically get everybody moved into mega cities. They'll be forced off of land and so forth for environmental reasons, and basically concocted and invented environmental nonsense. Then you'll be stuck in some hellhole mega city in a, basically a carton-sized apartment living over a Target or something, or inside of a Target or a Walmart, as I said several years ago. It's actually coming true now. There's actually Target cities.
Guess I'll die another day. So much more to know. I guess I'll die another day.
Sigmund Freud analyzed this.
All part of the long-term globalist strategy. So, but to get there, you've got to have the constant clash, the constant.
The world is not enough.
Right out of Manichaeanism to produce the convergence, to produce the synthesis, and that's what's crucial in all this, and what is absolutely true from an alchemical, esoteric,
sounds like
and
Tristan's
perspective. The fact
Elmo.
the ruling elite.
I guess I'll die another day.
Human. Jay's Analysis.
Oh yeah, I guess I'll die another day. I guess I'll die another day. Sigmund Freud analyzed this.
The dumbest of all the Bond songs, by far, easily, the Madonna Die Another Day. We'll have much more of that holiday cheer as I sing Madonna songs in the Elmo voice in the next hour and a half. We're going to have fun tonight. This is a semi-serious show, as you know. And I know it doesn't make sense. Why are you doing a James Bond analysis on Christmas Eve? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense sometimes. I don't expect me to make sense every time. Why do you expect that of me? When have I ever made sense all the time? Never. So there you go. And, we're just going to have fun. I have been slobbing that eggnog with my boys out back. My soy friends, not boyfriends, my soy friends. We've been slobbing that eggnog all night long, and I am just so full of corn syrup right now. I don't even know where I'm at, baby. Don't even know where I'm at. You can, of course, support the show with Super Chats right there via Streamlabs. As you know, we don't do it the old normal way. It's better with Streamlabs. You click that link in the show chat or in the show description, and you can go over to the Streamlabs page, and then you could do the Streamlabs through that way. All of you beautiful Utes out there. Now, shout out to my buddy Daril, who recalled to my memory what all was in the Dalton Brosnan era Bond films, because I've forgotten. And we did a James Bond is Real analysis a couple years ago, which is kind of a part one of this, where we covered Dr. No, Goldfinger, Thunderball, I forget what else, but we dissected. And as you know, there's always a good amount of real world stuff in Bond movies. They're some of the best predictive programming. And by the way, before this show, I did get my Brosnan pierced. And let me tell you, it hurt. So if you get your Brosnan pierced, I can confirm that you will be getting some the moms will be after you, because, of course, Pierce Brosnan is the favorite mom Bond. He's the mom Bond. All the moms, oh, I like that Pierce Brosnan, right? He's mom Bond number one. He's 00 mom. And when it comes to getting your, well, I'll save that joke for later. That's a bad joke. I'm going to save for later when we get to the Living Daylights. So we're going to jump around a little bit. We're not going to go chronologically just because we're having fun. Right? We're slobbing that eggnog out here having fun. Shout out to all my peeps in the chat. Well, what's up, nerds? Fun Christmas. Merry Christmas. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Tiny tots, play the slots. Simply having wonderful Christmas time. I don't know, Jamie's shouting something in the other room. What's up, Primal Edge Health? What's up, Father Deacon Ananias? What's up, Tamara? What's up, all the mods? Tamara never dies.
I guess I'll die another day. So much more to know. I guess I'll die another day.
Every time I watch Tristan, I hear that Elmo impression that he does. And then when I start singing this horrible Madonna song for Die Another Day, I just started doing it in Tristan's Elmo. So I'm doing this. So this is Tristan doing Elmo singing Madonna's Die Another Day song.
I guess I'll die another day. Sigmund Freud analyzed this.
I guess Madonna put that lyric in there because of all of the innuendos in James Bond, I'm guessing. I don't know. But I can tell you this, and this is when your mama cooked me a croissant this morning, it was because I got that Brosnan pierced. So if you want moms, you got to aim for that Pierce Brosnan, right? All moms love the Pierce. He's the favorite mom Bond. So let's get into it. We've been clowning around too much. Clowning. Merry Christmas, everybody. We had Father Deacon John, 666 amount. That's a crazy amount, though. I don't know about that. I don't know about maybe Father Deacon John is in another kind of church. Father Deacon John of the. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. He says, do an analysis of an old black and white movie called Thorazine. Georgian SSR Tbilisi Healthcare City Psychoneurological Hospital 1901. Is that the whole name of the movie? If that was the actual name of the movie, I would definitely watch that. That's the craziest name of a movie I've ever seen.
1966, Tbilisi Electronic something 666. Well, that's wild. Thorazine. Definitely have to check that out. Sounds like but we got some crazy stuff tonight, boys and girls, going on in these Bond movies. Again, shout out to my boy Daril. Thank you for calling my attention, reminding my attention to recall its perceptive apparatus's function to focus eyes on James 007 McBond. Thank you for that coffee, baby. She done brought me a coffee to order. She my little order bitch, my winch mage. Hey, let me get some more hot fries with this. Let me get some more. Let me get some more. What's those not tater tots? What's those nasty potatoes that you get with breakfast? I hate those. What are they called? Nasty breakfast potatoes. They're all greasy. What? Hash browns. Ugh. And by the way, anybody from the north, they never know what a hush puppy is. You talk to a northerner, a Yankee, about hush puppy, they'll go crazy.
What the heck is a hash puppy? What are you talking about? A hash puppy? He tried to explain to me what a hash puppy is, and I thought he was crazy. The people in the South, they take the cornbread and they throw it in the fryer, and it's a little ball, and they call it a hash puppy.
We're having fun. And no, I do not drink eggnog. Are you kidding? That's disgusting, dude. It's like the most sugary drink ever invented. More than Jolt Cola. Ugh. But thank you for that super chat for the Deacon John. Cookies for Santa. By the way, I had a dream last night in my dream, I'm not joking, I met up with a comedian. I don't remember who it was, like a famous atheist comedian. It was like Louis C.K. or somebody. And he was like, "You're not funny." And I was like, "Well, you're an atheist and a Santa denier, and you deny Santa, which is fake and gay." And it literally shut him up. So from now on, I'm just going to say, when somebody says that they don't believe in God, I'm like, "You don't believe in Santa, you're fake and gay." So I called him a gay lord in my dream, and it shut him up. So from now on, just call them gay lords, and it'll shut them up. Merry Christmas, everybody. GoldenEye.
See reflections in the mirror.
It is, by the way, Tina Turner. Right? She had a golden eye from Ike gave her a golden eye. Bop, bop. All right, I couldn't resist that. That's an old, the 80s call, they want your joke back about Ike and Tina. But yeah, she sang the song to this. I forgot that. It's a pretty good song, actually. But then actually, I decided I like the song to, I like the Garbage World Is Not Enough. That's my favorite Bond song. Well, that's my favorite. I didn't like Garbage in the 90s, but now that I'm older, post 90s kid, I actually like Garbage. I think they're pretty good. And there's a lot of weird symbolism in the Garbage World Is Not Enough video, which is a separate, addendum analysis to this. Go watch the Garbage World Is Not Enough Bond video. And they take Shirley and they program her. And they send in a replicant version of her because they've kidnapped the real Shirley from the band, Shirley Manson. And they send in this programmed one. She's the assassin Bomber. And she plays a song, and I think she's the Bomb. And then at a certain point, it blows up the Globe Theater and the whole building. This is pre-911. Now the building it's in Chicago, right? It's like a fictional event and story, but it's just bizarre, right? Because it's like the whole thing was this big staged theater event for the world, very reminiscent of a Big Nine, right? And World Is Not Enough came out. By the way, you're gonna see some pretty wild stuff in World Is Not Enough. It's gonna relate to orthodoxy. Yes, 1999. And as you know, the predecessor to all of the war on Terror it wasn't just these 90s blockbusters like True Lies and ones that The Rock that we covered in the previous movie installment. There was also a lot of preparation for the war on Terror via Ian Fleming. Yes, the Bond series, way before anyone else, prepped the world for the war on T, not Mr. T, the war on T, via this whole idea of Smersh Spectre. Now, Smersh, if you don't know, was a real Soviet counterintelligence operation. Schmidt-Spionen, right? Death to Spies. Schmidt-Spionen, which actually comes up in one of the films. And that was Schmersh's dictum. And then Schmersh morphs into Spectre in the Bond narrative. But keep in mind, Smersh was real under, I think, Stalin, if I recall. And then it morphs into who knows what. I don't think Smersh exists, obviously. But it's a continuation, would of course be Russian intelligence, which is mentioned in the Brosnan film analyses, which we will touch on. Pretty wild stuff comes up here. Now, remember, as always with the Bond stories, it's projection in the sense that whatever Spectre is doing is really what Western intelligence is up to, right? It's always what's going on here. Not to say that Eastern communist networks were the good guys. I'm not saying that. There's no good guy, bad guy in these big geopolitical situations, which we will see as I will recommend some books related to these fascinating details tonight. But thank you for those super chats. Merry Christmas to you, Cookies for Santa. That was a long rant. If you want to support the show, there's the super chats. Be sure to like and share. And let's talk about GoldenEye. Now, this takes place still in this is 90s. This is the first Pierce Brosnan installment, and it was a huge hit. GoldenEye was a blockbuster, and I can't see my notes. Let me move this over here. Now, it begins with a chemical weapons facility. We have the continuation of Cold War narrative. Bond breaks into this chemical weapons facility with Sean Bean, right? Boromir. Shall we not use the ring? Shall we not use the ring for Gondor? Right, remember Sean Bean? It is a gift. It is a gift. Right. That's a sucky Sean Bean, but I've never tried Sean Bean, so give me a little bit of credit here. I'm trying. For Gondor! Shall we not use the ring for Gondor? Once again, Sean Bean is our traitor. Yes, he always plays this kind of traitor character pretty often. Anyway, but he's 006, Bond 007. They break into this chemical weapons facility in Archangel? Somewhere in Russia. And it doesn't go well. We think Sean Bean is, dead or whatever. I think he gets splashed with, chemical weapons, or he's marred in some way. Every Bond villain has a effed up face. Shout out to Robert Davi's acne scars, as we'll see. Robert Davi's acne scars would be a good Twitter profile, or a band, by the way. Either way, right? But that's my favorite marred face Bond scar. Robert Davi's acne scar. Shout out. And what really blows me away every time I go back to GoldenEye is the dialectics. Because the opening sequence, not in every Bond film, but I've seen these enough that I've noticed the opening sequences do tell us oftentimes what's really going on. If you pay attention to the symbolism in the, infamous Bond sequences of the, the artsy girls dancing thing. That's every beginning of a Bond film. So, yes, they are in Archangel, Russia, by the way. And the opening sequence shows you all of these capitalist, communist symbols and imagery. So these chicks are like banging their hammer to beat down the sickles. And you see a giant flaming all-seeing eye and the toppling of these communist monuments and statues. And then what is it all about? Janus. Now, Janus is the Roman double-headed god. I could not think of a better image of dialectics than the double-headed god Janus. I mean, that is the archetype of dialectics. Janus. This is all about the Janus organization and operation. By the way, I think it comes up again in another Bond film. But, and this is another thing I noticed in this installment was, in the lyrics, Tina says,
It's a golden honey trap.
She says it's a golden honey trap. I keep thinking of honeycomb every time I hear that. Honeycomb, honey trap. If you ever see a Russian woman trying to get you to eat honeycomb, then you know it's a honeycomb, honey trap, baby. Stay away. Yes. So we know everything is set up in this opening scene. Now, it moves on. We see that Famke Janssen is, of course, the femme fatale. She is on a top. And what does she do? Oh, yeah, she's the real Swallow honey trap operative here, right? Which is real. That exists. There have been many of these. Many have come out in the news. All right, so again, real world stuff. Here, think of, what was her name? I just went blank. Anna Chapman. Think of back to Stalin had an actress who was his top Swallow woman. I always forget her name, but if you look her up, Stalin's actress spy. She spied for Stalin on the Nazis. Anyway, so this is kind of what we got with On a Top, right? Famke Janssen, who kills you by squeezing you with her legs. And just like literally down there as with, this is like as dumb as Jaws or the Asian dude that throws his hat. Forget his name. Odd Job. So we are at an elite casino. I forget where we are, but there's a passing reference in when they're at this casino, and I think they're in French Riviera. Are they in Monaco or somewhere? I forget where they are, but there's a puppet play that's going on, like the ridiculous, stupid mimes. But the reason this is interesting is that the mime has a controller behind the mime. So there's like a mind controlling handler controlling the mime. I don't know what mime play they're doing. I don't follow mime plays anymore. I have since canceled my subscription to Mime Play Weekly due to the coronavirus. It scares me. But it does seem to reference handlers, which was interesting. Oh, yeah, she's a Georgian spy, by the way. Speaking of Father Deacon John's super chat, the Famke Janssen character is a Georgian KGB assassin. Forgot that. So we learned that the Bond figures out that Janus is a crime syndicate. It uses a corporate front that is interested in getting a hold of this... it looks like a Black Hawk. I don't know, some kind of special helicopter. They don't care about the helicopter. What they want is I think it's the technology, some kind of chip inside this helicopter. And this has to do with an EMP. So this is all about electromagnetic pulse weapons and weaponry. And we hear a lot about this. I tend to think this is a bunch of nonsense scaremongering. Because, first of all, I mean, I'm not an expert on EMPs. I've read about it. But if you stop and think about this, like an EMP going off in the atmosphere, that's not going to shut off all of the electronic equipment in the country. That's retarded, okay? There'd have to be like an EMP like 50 feet above, like most cities, that's not going to happen. Okay, that just, I think that's ridiculous. So I think typically EMP weapon as it's sold is like a ridiculous, Cold War type of threat, right? So I wouldn't put much stock in that. So I think it's a bunch of fear and nonsense. However, there are space-based weapons, I believe, in the sense of satellites. There are, like SDI, Star Wars Defense Initiative type things. And there was a bunch of tweets going around today about some sort of laser hitting a volcano. I don't know. Could be completely fake. They could have been having a damn rave down in the volcano, and it looks like I don't know what the pictures are. It could be a fake ass Photoshop. Do people not remember that photos can be faked? Right? Hello. So I don't believe anything like I see like that, unless perhaps yes, there could be EMP type weaponry from satellites, maybe. But the way that it's always sold, right? They package it, which just reeks to me of psychological warfare, as if somebody's going to set off this thing in the atmosphere and everybody's electronics are going to go out. And then your Bitcoin won't be worth anything because once the EMP gets... So like, I was mentioning Bitcoin last week and like 5 people were like, bro, what are you going to do with your Bitcoin when the EMP shuts off everything? The EMP is going to erase your Bitcoin, dude. Like, as if that's how it works. Like, you just set an EMP off and it erases, it deletes the Bitcoin. Yeah, right. Give me a break. I'm not worried about an EMP. Okay, I'm sorry. I just think it's dumb. I think it's Bond level stuff. However, I have to say, Bond villains are real. So we've seen that in the last month, haven't we? Yes, with Klaus. So we know. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point, Tristan. My boy, Little A's over there. He's been. He actually has a cow that they milk that literally puts out eggnog. I don't know how. It's a weird thing. You can go read about it on EcuadorNews.com. They have a cow that they literally feed sugar and the cocaine directly from the local cartels. And for whatever reason, this cow eats this cocaine and sugar together, the coca and the sugar plant. And this cow literally produces high-grade eggnog. So it's pretty awesome. But shout out to Tristan for that eggnog that he's been shipping around the globe. What? Anyway, let's get back to Bond. I'm talking about nonsense about... Anyway, Bond villains are real, right? We've seen this now. Beyond any shadow of a doubt, we've seen this with Klaus. They feed it nothing but the coca leaves, right? By the way, when we get to... You are going to love License to Kill, baby. You're not going to believe what's in License to Kill. I'm going to blow your mind with what's in License to Kill if you've not seen it. I mean, dude, License to Kill has... I'm going to save it. You're going to have to go and watch it. But anyway. What's up? We got 300. Merry Christmas. Christmas Eve. We're having fun. We're dissing on Tristan's herd of herbivore, bovine, drug mule cows. The cows actually snort the cocaine. Literally. The cows grind up the coca plant into a fine powder. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but if you grind up the coca plant into a certain... It actually can get you high. You can get drunk from these plants. And the cows do that down in Tristan's region. And we're actually going to see that in Living Daylights, Bond goes down there to where Tristan is, right? Down to that Wayne Newton sex cult. Yes, a Wayne Newton sex cult in Living Daylights. Now, yes, if I wasn't Orthodox, I would absolutely be in the Wayne Newton sex cult. In fact, I was very close to being in the Wayne Newton sex cult before I was rescued via Orthodoxy. But we'll get to that later. Now, let's see. So this is about space-based weapons, this whole thing, right? It's about the space race. We know this was invented, by the way, at Bohemian Grove by Reagan and a bunch of those neocons when they dreamt up SDI, DARPA, and all of that stuff. Now, I think DARPA might have existed. That's around the time, right? So Poindexter, Reagan, all those neocon types were at Bohemian Grove, and they said, let's do this big space race. We'll, get rid of the Soviet Union by doing this. And it worked. And it pretty much worked. So this film, which is set in the mid-90s, is way past that, but about this space race. But again, I want to remind you that all of this Janus imagery is telling you about what's going on with Bond. And by the way, I just remembered, maybe this proves the Mandela effect. I'm joking, but now one of these Pierce Brosnan ones has Bond getting the Order of Lenin. I just remembered this. Except when I watched these Blu-ray Bonds, I don't remember Bond getting the Order of Lenin. So maybe I just skipped it, or I left the room, or I had to go wee in my pants. I wear an adult diaper because I don't go in the same room as Jamie. And so if Jamie's in the bathroom, I wear the adult diaper because I'm scared of Kufid. I just go wee in my pants. So maybe I was distracted wee-weeing in my pants. I don't know. But why did I not see Bond getting the Order of Lenin? Now, that shows you, again, another ridiculous insight into the dialectics going on in the Cold War here, being played at a higher level. And we've seen this with Victor Rothschild in terms of what we did with Mark. We've seen that in the last interview with Richard Grove. We see it in the writings of Professor Anthony Sutton. We've seen it also in the character Robert Maxwell in that interview that we did. For subscribers only. If you're in the chat and you know this, they edited. You think so? I think they may have. So there's like deleted scenes. Can somebody tell me why? Yes, you can hear Jamie laughing from the other room as I say ridiculous shit like that. Why is there no scene of Bond getting the Order of Lenin? That's crucial. I don't remember which one it is either, by the way. But so let's see where we at. So the space-based weapon, it runs on a ruby, it's a gigantic looking ruby, and the keys that you use to turn it on are all-seeing eyes. I thought that was interesting, right? All-seeing eye keys for GoldenEye, right? And if you've read, there's a good book that a guy wrote that I read for my thesis. What is that book? It's about esoteric stuff in Bond. I cite him in my books. I forget the name of the book, but he talks about all the alchemical imagery in Bond. Bonding, right? Is it Roger? Okay, Roger Moore gets the Order of Lenin at the end of View to a Kill. Thank you. Good point. So it wasn't deleted. I was just remembering the wrong one. So I'd never noticed that the key to the ignition, hot and fresh out the kitchen. Mama rolling that body, got every man in there wishing. Sipping on coke and rum. I'm like, so what I'm drawing. It's the freaking weekend, baby. I'm about to have me some fun. Toot, toot. Beep, beep. I've been thinking about the keys, you know what I'm saying? The papal keys to GoldenEye. The Pope has the keys to GoldenEye. He turns them on, and Francis can zap anybody from outer space, do that EMP on your ass. He can turn your Orthodox Church's lights off if he wants to. So don't insult Francis, because he's got the keys to GoldenEye. Those papal GoldenEye keys. Anyway, as you can imagine, yes, the Janus crime syndicate, where are they located? Oh, St. Petersburg, of course. I mean, all villains come out of Russia, of course. Literally nowhere else in the world has villains except Russia. Always, right? And so Bond has to go talk to the guy that plays Hagrid. I forget his name, but Hagrid is the former KGB guy who's now Russian mafia in the Brosnan series. Viktor Kreshnikov, I forget his name, something like that, some generic Russian name. But he has this interesting thing where he talks about that he knows why Sean Bean is pissed off and why Sean Bean wants to take Bond and British intelligence down. And it has to do with the Cossacks being betrayed by MI6 and killed. And so this is a real thing. I didn't know this. This was all new to me. So again, shout out to my boy Daril for pointing that out. That was a cool insight. And so the Russian mob guy tells Bond this. Apparently this is a real thing. Where am I at? The Cossacks sold out by British intelligence. Right. And so I guess they got killed. So they go and they meet. Bond goes to Church of Our Lady of Smolensk. And it looks like they're in a real Orthodox church. I forgot to actually check and see if this was a real Orthodox church, because it also looks like, it kind of looks Catholic too. I couldn't tell if it was an Orthodox church or a Catholic church, but it looks like it is a Russian Orthodox church. Okay, here we go. James Bond locations says. Okay, this is not really in Russia. Shocker. The church is actually in London. St. Sophia Church in London, which is a Russian, it's a Greek Orthodox cathedral. Interesting. Okay, didn't know that. There's always something weird and neat going on with a lot of these. And spies are always meeting in churches, right? They're always meeting, especially in Orthodox or Catholic churches, right? It's like the spy hub. It's got to meet at the church, right? We got to meet or sometimes they even meet in the confessional, right? They go talk to the priest who's really a spy or whatever. They even mentioned that this, by the way, is about nukes being detonated in the upper atmosphere, which is all part of that so-called narrative story of what happens at Trinity and all that with the Manhattan Project. They were testing this stuff supposedly in the upper atmosphere. Who knows what's true of all that? But this is how, the methodology of the EMP is supposed to work. You set this off in the upper atmosphere, and somehow that's supposed to turn off all the electronics. Okay. Where are we at? Oh, this is interesting. So Bond has to get to Cuba. And, of course, this is where he meets Joe Don Baker for the first time. And if you recall, Joe Don Baker had played the villain in one of the previous... Now, this is interesting. So Joe Don Baker plays the villain in Living Daylights, who is a former U.S. general who turns into a weapons trafficker and drug trade guy. And then in GoldenEye, he's the CIA hookup, Felix Leiter, for Bond. Hello? Exactly. Yeah. Generals, right, work with or become CIA-type people who traffic arms and drugs. Exactly. Yes. There we go. That's exactly how it works. And we're going to get to some books that talk about that, by the way. But so Bond has to get to Cuba, and it's Joe Don Baker, the CIA, that takes him into Cuba. I thought Cuba was our enemy. How is there such ease of access? And by the way, why is there a U.S. base in Cuba if this is another country that's our mortal enemies? Like something's going on here, right? Something odd. Something dialectical is afoot. But regardless, the CIA gets Bond into Cuba. Forget what he does in Cuba, but so the satellite, that's right, which is SETI, by the way. I don't know why the 90s were obsessed with SETI, that stupid ass giant thing that is not about sending messages to aliens. I guarantee you. I don't even know if this is true. I just feel like it has to be true. Who is going to build that gigantic volcano-sized satellite with all that elaborate shit everywhere, zillions of dollars, to send emails to ET? That's not, I guarantee you that is for surveillance. I don't know how it works, but it probably is bouncing off of the satellites. That's my guess, right? If you don't know what SETI is, it's the Arecibo, that big ass thing where they basically filled a whole volcano full of, a valley full of concrete and turned it into a giant frickin' satellite dish. And the 90s loved this because they made all the dumb alien movies about, SETI, right? So, but who really believes that that's what SETI is? I mean, come on. What's more valuable? A giant surveillance thing? Or a giant dish that sends emails to ET? Exactly. What do we say? Janice is Russian mafia. We covered that. Sean Bean. We covered that. Alec. Alec is the Sean Bean character. Oh, this was crazy. Do you remember what Sean Bean's plan was? This calls for pure Soysin's greetings, right? My soy friends. What is the plan? Great reset. Yes. Sean Bean. Fugando. Right. Sean Bean wants to use the EMP to first black out London to send them back to the Stone Age. He wants to send them back to the Stone Age. He wants to do a great reset. And then he's going to do it everywhere else. And he'll have, I guess, the only working shit, right? He can basically turn off everybody's electricity, do a great reset, austerity. Meanwhile, Sean Bean lives it up eating beans, eating high-class Franken beans, eating full-on steaks. Remember Beano? Beano is what grandparents take in the 80s to not have the gas. Beano. Yes. Oh, interesting. So the Arecibo dish is out of date, and they built a bigger one in China. Runaway Train says. Interesting. Didn't know that. I just think that this is kind of ridiculous. This whole story of emails to ET is just stupid. And remember, we did a video too. We covered Arrival, which is also as dumb as any other alien movie in the 90s. The Charlie Sheen movie Arrival, and that focuses on Arecibo and SETI. Contact, remember Contact? Contact with that old Joe Matthew trying to hit on that manly-looking Jodie Foster. Old Matthew was getting pretty thirsty down there in Latin America. He was having a hard time finding much of much of stuff on the side, and so he had to go for Jodie Foster. That's all there was. Jodie Foster looking like an ugly foster child. That's all Matthew had. Right? He was thirsting for some contact. So he had to resort to Jodie Foster child. Anyway, we gotta get serious here. This is taking forever. This is getting stupid. Yes. So that was the big reveal here. He's going to send them back to the Stone Age. I couldn't believe it when Sean Bean said, I about popped my bean. I about blew the beans, right? As Jay Winder says. I about blew my Sean Beans when he said he was going to do a great reset. Now, he doesn't use the word great reset, but that's what he's saying he's going to do. He's going to get rid of everybody's text, send them back to the Stone Age, and that's what they deserve for whatever he's mad about. I forget. Cossack history or something. So, there we go. Yeah, pretty heavy stuff in GoldenEye. I can't think of anything else that comes to mind in GoldenEye. Anyway, if you guys remember anything, you can super chat me and I'll read your super chat. You'll have a real Easter reading your super chat. Did we only get that? Okay. I guess I'll die another day. Sigmund Freud, analyze this. Remember that? The worst, dumbest ever Bond song, where Madonna is literally writing about Sigmund Freud in her lyrics. Now, Die Another Day is the most preposterous, also, of the entire, in my view, Brosnan era. I mean, we kind of went back to Roger Moore level
goofy stuff. I mean, this is like, what? This is over the top ridiculous in Die Another Day, where, like, if you remember the beginning sequence is him again sneaking into a Russian terror, T-E-R-R-O-R, bazaar, where they're doing basically a convention, a T-E-R-R-O-R convention, selling weapons. Bond sneaks in, blows the whole thing up, and wait, I'm sorry, that's not Die Another Day. I'm mixed up. I got my Bonds wrong. That's Tomorrow Never Dies. Excuse me. Maybe we should go in order here, because that's 19. GoldenEye, and then what's next? Tomorrow Never Dies. Is that next? 97, 99. I forgot to write down what year. What year is Die Another Day? I forgot to write this down. I guess we need to do them in order. So what's Die Another Day? Die Another Day. So the chat's behind, so I won't see it for another. 2002. Die Another Day's last. Excuse me. We need to do that one last, because that one is the most ridiculous, dude. What? Melting Ice Palace? People changing their faces like freaking Nicolas Cage level stuff? Come on, dude. This is ridiculous. So GoldenEye, and then Tomorrow Never Dies. Let's do that next. Yeah. So he's at the arms bazaar. The Russian border, they fire a missile, blows it up. Now we get more preparation for the war on Terror. The beginning has an interesting symbolism in the opening sequence of robot people, like synthetic girls, silicon-based girls that are programmed. So we know there's something going on here with mind control. Yes, and oh yeah, that's right. This is the Jonathan Pryce plays the Rupert Murdoch Ted Turner character, which is a good Bond villain. This was a great idea. Everything in this Bond installment was really clever up until we get to his stupid ship, his stealth submarine, whatever that gay thing he floats on is ridiculous. I mean, that whole last third of the movie is just, it's like Michael Bay came in to direct the third act. I mean, it's like you had a good movie going. This was pretty good. And then the third act just gets totally dumb. Way off the chart stupid. But let's go back. So we got, he plays Jonathan Pryce, Brazil, plays Carver. The Carver Media Group is a private thing, and it's the network is something like GMCN, but it's like CNN basically, right? So this is Ted Turner / Rupert Murdoch. Obviously, it's obvious. There's multiple allusions to him being this kind of a guy. Great Bond villain, a great idea. Where it gets a little dicey, however, and ridiculous is the idea that the British and Chinese governments, communist capitalist governments, are going to have to work together. Uh-oh. What did we just see with GoldenEye? Staged dialectics. We got to work with the communists against this private, corporate, fascist, bad guy who creates the news. That is the most amazing, insightful aspect to this Bond installment. Literally, Jonathan Pryce, Carver, is, because he has all of this gigantic intelligence network, basically like a private intelligence network across the world, which is what his big media thing is. When they learn of things, they're able to craft the story and the narrative ahead of time to spin it in any direction they want. Fake news. Okay. Fake news. Okay. Literally, it's about fake news. That's his whole power and plan. It's mind-blowing. I'm watching this. CNN, by the way, CNN. They control the news stories. They totally make them up. Even to the extent that he's able, they say, when he has his party, his like boomer slow motion rave, his party that he has,
it is a boomer slow motion rave. It's like there's all these lights and flickering, raves, and it's like this really slow ambient thing going. It's like, what is this? And so he is able to topple entire governments with his news stories. Did you hear that? The media is able to concoct news stories that help topple even governments. If you want to know how the world works, just watch each Bond movie in sequence. Write down the notes of what the villains are doing. Understand that it's not the villains that do this, but the actual people in control. Klaus Schwab, the intelligence agencies, the bank, elites, the Fortune 100. And that's how the world works. Literally, everything I learned about the world, I learned from watching Bond movies. You could just say that. Right? You will learn more about the world from watching the Bond movies in succession than an entire 4 years of college plus grad school. I'm not joking. Stop and think about that for a minute. You could pay $200,000 to be brainwashed by literal loons at a local state university, learn nothing, become an idiot with a piece of paper, or you could watch all 30, 25, I don't remember 25 Bond movies, take notes, and you could do that, in 2 weeks? Like one a night or something? And you would literally know more about the world if you had the key to understand that it's not the bad guys that are doing what the villains do. Right? Smersh and Spectre are what the elites do. Okay? You would know more about how the world really works than 6 freaking years of rip-off debt-based education. Wow. That is mind-blowing. I'm not joking, by the way. I'm being 100% totally serious. Not even joking, bro. Not even. Bond U, exactly. 007U. There you go. All right, where are we at? Carver Media Group, that's right. He even wears that Hillary outfit, right? Like Blofeld. That, gray pantsuit that's like unisex pantsuit that the North Korean dictator Hillary, Klaus Schwab, and the Bond villains and Bezos wear. It's crazy. Like, go look up Bezos, Hillary, Klaus. They all wear Bond villain outfits. Kim Jong. It's like, wow. Oh, yeah, this is interesting, too, because a lot of times in people's analyses of what's really going on in the world, you will hear people talk about the South China Sea. I don't know a whole lot about intelligence related to China and this kind of stuff. That's not my area. I've read in other areas when it comes to geopolitics. But I have met quite a few people who do know about that region and had conversations with people that, actually one guy who's a former Marine who spent 20 or 30 years just doing South China Sea analysis. So this dude knows a lot about this. Guy who talks to generals, talks to like former Cold War intelligence operative people. And he says that, like, most people agree that if there is a big global conflict, it will probably eventually happen from a conflict in the South China Sea. I don't even know if that's. I'm just saying that's what people say. I don't know. It's not my area, but he has recommended some good books on Chinese intelligence, which I've not read yet. I just ordered them. Forget one of them came. I forgot what it is. Anyway. But what kind of blew me away was that I had just talked to this guy about that stuff maybe 4 weeks ago. And then I'm watching this Bond story. And that's what Carver does. He initiates the conflict in the South China Sea to make it look like the British and the Chinese are attacking each other. But really, it's this third higher group, international intelligence, private elite, the Carver group, media group, that has engineered this. And then they spin the news stories to try to kick off WW3. Wow. So, if you do see WW3 kick off in relation to the South China Sea, go watch Tomorrow Never Dies. That's what it's about. Jamie made the comment that Terry Hatcher as a Bond girl doesn't make sense because she has mom hair. So she's a mom Bond girl. And as we said, Pierce is the mom Bond. We have the Fat Nerd Hacker. Always got to have a Fat Nerd Hacker. This was common in the 90s. They have some... Bond steals something that's related to... It looks like a big ledger, like a Bitcoin ledger, like a giant one from the 90s. That didn't exist, but I'm saying something to do with keys and money or something, wiring money. I don't know. I forget what it is. But so Bond steals this and blah, 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 blah. What does he have to do? Team up with the Chinese intelligence woman. I forget her name. They compare Carver to William Randolph Hearst. Who said, oh yeah, he says it's time to create a new world order. So get this. Bond has to team up with Chinese communist intelligence. And yes, they beat the international corporate elite. I mean, this is just so preposterous and yet enlightening at the same time. Wow. And that all goes down in Saigon, right? So they have to... the bad guy's based in Saigon. I don't remember why, but he also has perfected a method of chakra torture. I don't know what chakra torture is, but it sounds pretty funny. There you go, right? That's all I recall from Tomorrow Never Dies. But hey, that is fake news. Literally 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. Amazing. And let's see what's next. 19 tomorrow. Tomorrow Never Dies. Then 99. World Is Not Enough. Now this is one of my favorites because, well, number one, I like the Bond song from this, right? The Garbage song. And as I want to remind you, if you weren't here at the beginning, go and watch The World Is Not Enough, the Garbage video, because the song to the music video has all of this MK Ultra mind control stuff going on to the woman in the red dress who goes in as the patsy. She's a double or an alter or a replicant. She's programmed to do the TERROR BOMB. She does. A gigantic tower falls. Hello? This is 1999. Now, in The World Is Not Enough, 99, we have a Orthodox oil princess. Yes, you heard that right. She's an Azerbaijani Orthodox oil heiress, Electra King. Her dad is Sir Robert King. So here we have the British knight elite, right? So he's in that inner core. I think he's Scottish, or I forget exactly what he is. Maybe he's just British, I don't remember. But he has dated M, right? Bond's handler, M, Mum. They have had a fling. That's not Electra's mom, but we are initially led to think that there is an Electra complex going on here, right? Because Electra, played by Sophie Marceau, the princess from Braveheart, she says, you know, my dad took the empire from my mom. So it was actually the mom's. And so you think that it's a psychological thing that she has where she's trying to get rid of the mom to compete for her dad's affections. Oh, and then there's a twist. It's not that at all. She disrespects her dad, can't stand him, and eventually kills him so that she can take over the oil empire and complete more of her dastardly designs. Now, what's interesting is that she, as far as I can recall, is the only female Bond villain. I mean, there's pussy galore and, evil chicks like Famke Jensen, but Elektra is like the mastermind of this, and that's what we don't expect, right? We think she's being harassed by Renard, who is a former KGB turned anarchist, right? Who, again, is a terror specialist. That's what he does. But before we get to that, let's see. I just wanted to mention that twist of the narrative that it's not an Elektra complex. It's the other way around. She wants to kill the dad. Let's see. Garage video. What does that mean? Analyzed. Oh, I meant the garbage video, not garage. Garbage video. Analyze that. She's the daughter of the king. She is the heiress. Now, M gives this speech when they're at that Scottish castle, or Irish castle, I forget what it is, but it's an MI6 base. And what's odd about this is that I've always thought this sounds just like Bush's speech. Literally, the speech that Judi Winch gives is what Bush says after the 9. we don't negotiate with terrorists. We will hunt you down. It's whatever bullshit that he said. That's what she says, which is curious. Almost word for word. I've tried to dig up that Bush speech. I couldn't find it, but if I recall, it's almost word for word. So it's like we live in a Bond movie, don't we? Let's see. Kills the mother. She's now. So we just saw in the previous installment reference to Jonathan Pryce as the villain and being like William Randolph Hearst. In this one, Elektra is like Patty Hearst. What? I mean, this is wild, right? So she was kidnapped as the heiress, mind-controlled by Renard, the KGB anarchist. And so she falls in love with her captor and becomes a BDSM fan. She's really into that. And then she wants to work with the terrorist guy because she's been... Now, I've always thought, I don't know what the real story of the whole Patty Hearst thing is, but I do know that I listened to the Mae Brussell talks. If you've heard those are kind of, classics of the conspiracy world. Go listen to the Mae Brussell analysis of Patty Hearst and the Symbionese Liberation Army stuff. It's pretty convincing. I mean, there's something going on here that's a little shady, like kind of fictitious here. I'm not saying it's all, quote, fake. I'm just saying there seems to be something going on here that's preposterous. Could this have been arranged? Was it a kind of a setup fake thing? Or was she really brainwashed? I don't know the full story. I've never even read a whole book on it. I've just listened to her analysis. So something to think about. But other interesting element of this Renard character, which is kind of dumb. He has a bullet lodged in his brain at the skull, which is slowly killing him, but also at the same time making him stronger, and he doesn't feel pain. Ridiculous. But he is he's a Satan type of character, right? He hangs out in that place, which is real. By the way, I didn't think this was real. I looked it up. It is. It's called Dag something. Like Dag. Dag. That place, Dag, dude. That place, wow. What is that place called? Dag something? Dag Yomar, Dag Yogar. The Land of Fire. It's some place in Azerbaijan where the natural gas seeps out of rocks and the flames never go out. Pretty interesting. Dag something, you could look it up. And then there's another place that's a temple, a Hindu temple in Azerbaijan, which has the same thing going on. And so that's actually real. The flame pit where Renard meets with his villain cohorts, right? So there's some interesting alchemical stuff going on, because oil, like the natural gas, right? It's this commodity seeping out of the ground. This is the Bond story about control of oil. What was the Big Nine event about? Not totally, but a big puzzle piece. Oil, of course. Not everything, but a big puzzle piece to the Big Nine event. And I don't recall exactly what the pipeline stuff in relation to the Big Nine event was, but I would not be surprised if there wasn't a Caspian Sea pipeline involved in that, because that's the plot here. Now get this. Elektra is an Orthodox villain. It doesn't exactly say she's Orthodox, but when she goes to where they're putting the pipeline in, a bunch of Orthodox Azerbaijani are mad because it's going to go through an Orthodox shrine. So she goes to the shrine, puts on, her head covering, goes into the shrine, talks to the Orthodox bishop, and then she comes out and she tells the people, I will build my pipeline around your Orthodox shrine. Which I think is leading us to think she's the Orthodox nationalist villain. Whoa, right, shocker. And who is Bond working with? Well, in the last two installments, he's worked with international communism against Russians and Jonathan Pryce, the media conglomerate elitist, right? So it turns out that this one isn't exactly about Russians, because she is building her pipeline in competition with Russian pipelines. So it's not exactly that she's Russian. She's not. She's, right, this, I guess her mom is Azerbaijani or something. Or does it even say what her mom is? I don't remember. We don't know what her mom is or does, but mom's gone. And so now she has it out, of course, to destroy the West. She wants to create a oil empire that will rule the world. And then we get Bond. I don't remember why. That's right. Renard wants to secure a couple nukes. That's right. So he goes to meet Denise Richards, who is Christmas Jones, the lesbian nuclear scientist. I mean, what? Right, the lesbian nuclear scientist named Christmas Jones. I mean, I was on board until we got to this. It's like every time the Bond stories start out, we got something really provocative, interesting, and then they throw in just this totally dumb thing. What? A lesbian nuclear scientist named Christmas Jones, and it's Denise Richards. I mean, come on, dude. I don't even need to make a joke here. This is like preposterous enough itself. But that's where we are. And then, another interesting element too I want to say about the pipeline. If you go and listen to the excellent interview that I did with Andrew Korybko from 4 years ago, he did a great breakdown of how this whole pipeline machination stuff works on a geopolitical scale. So, for example, miraculously, if a pipeline needs to go into an arena or an area or a place, why we suddenly see Western-sparked political and social chaos, right? Controlled chaos leads to this technology of revolution, and a lot of times it doesn't even have to do with any of this stupid political stuff. It's so that a damn pipeline can go through the region. Literally. So the technology of regime change revolution stuff in some of these Balkan, Caspian Sea area pipelines. I think in the interview with Karibko, we even talked about the Caspian Sea region. And he says it's like a skeleton key where you just like click on, turn the button, turn the key, and suddenly the freedom fighters pop up in whatever region to fight against the oppressive regime. And sometimes it's even, like radical Islamic terror. So a classic tool of the Western intelligence elite, as we will see with the Living Daylights, right? Do you know the big reveal of Living Daylights? Well, stick around. You'll find out here in a minute. By the way, you can support well. That's a nice fat super chats coming in. Thank you guys. We got over 300 on this happy Merry Christmas Eve. You can support with those super chats, and I will alchemically move you from a Negredo stage into the golden stage as we progress to the Philosopher's Stone via 007. Where are we at? Let's see. So Azerbaijan. By the way, isn't right now, right? There's the Azerbaijan conflict going on, trying to split religions. I know. So it was Macedonia. So after Ukraine, we had Macedonia. Then we had these conflicts in Azerbaijan, and then Armenia and Azerbaijan. So it might be worth revisiting what Andrew Karibko and I talked about, because he really lays it out with the technology of regime change. By the way, it's also in this book. If you've not read this classic from F. William Engdahl, Lost Hegemon, Whom the Gods Would Destroy, he talks about all this regime change technology, right? Gene Sharp, right? The democracy playbook nonsense. Color Revolution, it's the same stuff. BCCI, CIA drug bank. Remember Reagan with all the mujahideen in the White House? I mean, come on, dude. This is like preposterous. Muslim Brotherhood, British intelligence for a long time. I mean, it's not that hard actually to figure this stuff out. It's pretty obvious, like how this stuff works when you read a few books on it. Not just a few books, but when you've read 50 books on it, it's pretty obvious. 50 plus. We're almost done with World's Not Enough. Let's see. I think that's most of the key points going on. By the way, the word Azerbaijan means land of fire. And so you have their nukes, oil, natural gas. So it's about energy. So this one is telling us about how the elite control and move the chess pieces around for the control of energy. In this case, the technology of energy via oil, natural gas, nuclear energy, etc. If you can control the energy, then you can control whether people industrialize, right? Whether they're in the Stone Age for Gondor, right? As Sean Bean says, great reset them, or whether they have advanced technology and become first world versus third world. And so the previous bond was about the media. This bond is about energy control. Fascinating. What's next? Whoa, dude. Holy camole. Somebody's sending out Christmas presents. I figured if I did a stream tonight, y'all would love it and somebody would be sending these Christmas presents. And we are getting Christmas presents. Just hear those sleigh bells ring-a-ling, ding, ding, ding-a-ling, ding, ding, ding-a-long. 2. And we got 300 nerds tonight. Now we're going to Die Another Day. We're going to do the last. I guess I'll die another day. We'll do Die Another Day because there's some really juicy stuff in these Timothy Dalton ones. So we'll do that one. And we'll close with this. Can you? Yeah, thank you. And then we'll jump back and do the Timothy Dalton ones, because it's hard to rate them. But I'm going to have to say that the most interesting of all of these is not any of the Pierce Brosnan ones. And you'll see why that is in a minute. I'm going to have to say that I think probably the two Dalton ones, they're pretty good movies. They're the most realistic, I guess. I'll give the Dalton era in the 80s was realistic. And then when they went to Pierce Brosnan, it went back to this, Roger Moore goofy, just preposterous stuff. Even though there's still revelatory material in every one of these, but most revelatory we're gonna save that for the Timothy Dalton ones. Anyway, so Die Another Day. This is the conclusion to the Brosnan period. As we said, this one is just ridiculous. Okay, I mean it's almost too dumb to even watch. I have to say. I mean, is it watchable? Watchable. It's watchable in the same way that something like The Rock, or Face Off is watchable. I mean, it's so preposterous that it is entertaining. But I mean, good grief, dude. I don't know who came up with the idea for this Bond installment, but somebody needs to slap the diamonds out of their face, right? Because this is so stupid. Bond, once again, is infiltrating, I don't know what, something. Oh, yeah, North Korea, right? I mean, the North Korean element is itself, like, preposterous, right? Why do they think that this would be a good villain? The whole time I'm watching this, I was thinking about my North Korea video, which is funny, by the way, if you've never seen that. The one that people thought I was literally saying that North Korea is not real. Like it doesn't exist. Well, that was obviously a satire video, but whatever. I mean, Kim Jong-un is a Bond villain. It's like a movie. And if you go look at their setup, their space program, all that stuff, it literally looks like a movie set. Like the space program that they have is literally a movie theater. I'm not joking. Go look it up. I don't know how to make sense of North Korea. Literally, I don't know what it means. I can't make sense of it. I don't know. Something crazy is going on there, but the whole country looks like a movie set to me. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying that it looks like that. But now remember 3 years ago, when we were talking about this kind of stuff, and when we said over here on this side of the internet, right up here in the Jay's Analysis Studios, we said years ago that the world is like a Bond movie and that the bad guys in the world are Bond villains. And we were called crazy, lunatic, conspiracy, tinfoil people for many, many years by hundreds, thousands of people. And look who was vindicated. Your boy right here, right? We were vindicated. Me and all the nerds are 100% vindicated. We were right all along. Everybody can go look publicly. The conglomeration of the elite that have now come out publicly. Great Reset, Klaus, all these goons. And they look like Bond villains, literally. They act like Bond villains. They have plans just like Bond villains. And they talk like Bond villains. We live in a damn movie, dude. I told y'all. Why did you think I was crazy? Oh, y'all thought I was crazy? Dude, go look at the damn news. I think that people just couldn't deal with it. They just couldn't handle it. You know what I'm saying? So immediately I'm mad because no, this is not the one where is this the one where he surfs the iceberg? I mean, and there's a similar sequence in Escape from L.A. Remember where Snake Plissken surfs the tsunami? I can't remember if it's this one or another one, but so Bond is infiltrating the demilitarized zone, North South Korea. He ends up trying. I forget what he's getting back or stealing or something to do with some weapons sale or something with North Korea, and then he ends up blowing something up, and a general's son who's there running this operation gets diamonds stuck in his face, which that's actually kind of cool. I think if I was a Bond villain, I'd want diamonds stuck in my face, or I don't know, rubies or something. That'd be pretty crazy. Emeralds, a bunch of green dots in your face. That'd be looking weird, but then again, that's actually kind of cool, I guess. And he doesn't get them removed, right? So he gets diamonds stuck in his face. Colonel Moon, which is odd because this makes us think of Sun Young Moon. And by the way, the Moonies, Sun Young Moon, that I think was some CIA thing. Because remember, the Washington Times used to be owned by Sun Young Moon, and it was either bought or sold via George Bush Sr. I can't remember this if he sold it to or bought it from. I don't remember, but there's a very fascinating, bizarre history of the Washington Times related to Sun Young Moon. It's weird. But that to me suggests, okay, something else is going on with Moonies. This is kind of cult, mind control thing. And wait until we get to the Dalton installments with the sex cult. Yes, the Wayne Newton sex cult, which also is Mooney-ish, except it's not the Moonies. It's just, well, it's like Nexium or something. It's a pyramid scheme front sex cult. What? Yes. I'm not kidding. Anyway, let's see. So Bond ends up caught. He's tortured by the North Koreans. The opening sequence is all about diamonds again. We've got ice, scorpions, and fire. Right? I don't know why they pick it. So when Bond is being tortured, they have scorpions biting him. So Bond undergoes North Korean brainwashing, mind control. It seems to be something referencing alchemy again in this opening sequence. Of course, diamonds, another imagery within alchemy of the kind of the completion process of undergoing the stages so that you're immortal, right? You're diamond. You can't be, your heart is a diamond, right? We also learned that this relates to conflict diamonds. Now, I feel sure I don't know the history of conflict diamonds, but I do remember Blood Diamond? Remember that came out with Leo and Jimon Hansu and Jennifer Connelly, J-Con, and we were supposed to be concerned with the international blood diamond conflict, which now I think people are kind of cynical, and anytime we hear these internationally promoted concerns like conflict diamonds, we know that this is somehow some kind of scam. I don't know how. Now, I do know that, of course, the De Beers, Rhodes, that whole empire, and Rhodes was working at the behest of the Rothschilds to build the diamond monopoly, and then other families, De Beers and all that kind of came in. I don't know the whole story, but supposedly it's a controlled market because diamonds are actually semi-precious, right? So because they're not that rare, they control the market to keep them high-priced. That's at least what I've heard. And so actually, I think rubies and emeralds, right, they're more rare than diamonds. But diamonds are a controlled market, and then hence, I guess, the so-called blood diamond story. But it'd be interesting, somebody could look back. It never fails, right? It never fails years later looking back on all of these cause celeb fake, concerns like ozone, whales, what else? Like most of this shit is totally fake, dude. Like it has nothing to do with the front story, right? It has to do with drugs, black market, liquid assets for funding black operations. That's always what it is. Okay. And if you haven't figured that out, then you're dumb. I'm sorry. But that's reality. Anyway, so there's all this nonsense, made up fake North Korea stuff about they're a threat to the West. They're going to destroy the West. They're going to nuke the West, all this kind of stuff. But Bond ends up traded for a spy. I forget who it is. But so we think that Bond's going to get executed, but he's traded. So they do a spy trade, which does happen, by the way. There are spy trades that does occur. If you watched, I think that comes up in The Americans. It also comes up in that terrible propaganda movie with J-Law, Red Sparrow. Remember they do a spy trade for her? There's also a spy trade sequence in Alias, if you've watched Alias, by the way. Bond ends up betrayed. I don't remember who betrays him. Oh, yeah. Okay. So he ends up betrayed. He gets away, of course. They try to make him a patsy. Bond goes to a hotel in, I don't know where he is, but he goes to, I don't think is he in South Korea? I forget where he is, but some hotel, and then he meets with Chang, his Chinese intelligence friend. It's interesting how Bond always works with Chinese intelligence. And Chang tries to spring a honey trap on him, right? So he sends some Asian masseuse to give him the happy treatment. Bond sees through it, and he's being surveilled through the glass. Typical honey trap setup. Doesn't work. And what happens? Bond decides it's time to go back to Cuba. Once again, fake Cold War BS. Going to Cuba. I thought Cuba is like our worst enemy or whatever. And then what do we find there but a clinic that gives you a new face? Face off. Face off. Face off. Right? Literally, I don't know why. This is not 90s, I know. But for me, 2002 feels like 90s. What's the deal with this like face changing stuff, right? I guess that's an old Bond thing, right? Because if you remember, some of the Blofeld installments had body doubles and multiples, which also exists, right? Remember the fake Bin Laden body doubles that everybody was learning about. The media was presenting these body doubles as the real guy. That was all a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of fake stuff. All public now. Everybody knows this, but here it is in the Bond films, like fake plastic reconstructive surgery. And given the weirdness of what we see with a lot of the Hollywood people and their horrible plastic surgery jobs, I guess it's plausible that like you could go get a facial reconstruction and people wouldn't recognize you. I mean, I don't know how often this has happened. I mean, there have been a few bankers who've been caught trying to stage their own deaths and this kind of stuff, but this does seem like it'd be hard to get away with. I don't know. But there's a facial reconstruction clinic in Cuba that Halle Berry is trying to infiltrate, as well as James Bond. They're on the trail of the North Korean general's son, the lunatic, who is getting a new face. We don't know what he's doing or why he's doing it, but he's getting a new face. Face off. We see a Castro mural. And Bond pushes a button in the Castro mural. It's like Castro's mustache or something. He pushes the mustache and it opens up to this secret facial reconstruction clinic. Ayla los órganos. Imagine that's not real. I don't know. And we find DNA, genetics, right, everywhere. So this one has a lot to do with DNA and genetics. Like that keeps popping up because the North Korean general's son has this hatred of the Anglosphere. He hates the West and he hates the Brits so much
that he becomes a douchey British dude. Like a literal ultimate Oxford douchebag face fencing.
I shall fence with you. I hate you so much that I shall learn to fence with you.
Like, is there anything more weird than fencing? Where they put that white suit on.
I shall fence with you.
Right? It just looks weird to me. I don't know. The whole setup of fencing is strange to me. I mean, martial arts actually does seem more authentically masculine than this, like,
Ooh, let's put on our white underwear, our white tights, and let's poke each other. Ooh, I shall poke you. Ooh, ooh. I'm Lord Wetbottom, and I shall poke you.
Anyway, and then, as you can imagine, the diamond trade black market guy that we think is this British douchebag. And by the way, this guy has the ultimate douchebag face. I mean, I've never seen a better resting D-bag face than this dude. He's just like... And he's always got this snivel snarl, like a natural snivel snarl that, I mean, he's perfectly cast. I'll give him this, right? I will give them this. They cast the greatest resting douchebag face guy of all time. And as we can guess, he is the North Korean dude. The North Korean dude underwent face-off John Travolta, Nick Cage surgery to the extent that he becomes a British douchebag. So it's the greatest facial reconstruction of all time. Anyway, so turns out it's an Icarus space program. Once again, we're back to satellites and space crap. And I have to say, again, you know, even though this is totally preposterous, it's once we get to this ice palace, I mean, that's just totally dumb. I'm sorry, but the ice palace thing, it just ruins the whole. I mean, the movie just goes, and then the bad guy has a Nintendo Power Glove. I'm not joking. Do you remember he has a Nintendo Power Glove that electrocutes? But he becomes a superhero villain. So suddenly this turns into a Marvel movie. I mean, how did we get from James Bond into Marvel level stuff? I'm not joking. And he's got this Icarus space needle thing that basically can cook Earth, right? It's going to melt Antarctica, right? This kind of just totally preposterous stuff. When he does it with his Power Glove, like he's controlling it with his Nintendo Power Glove, which also shoots electricity, by the way. And then we've got Halle Berry like facing off in a fencing match with Rosamund Pike, so she's a lifetime fencing master. Halle Berry has but she masters and just whips ass. I mean, it just turns into the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, I literally think that, I don't know. So the only other thing I can think of in the Bond stories that compares with this as to being this dumb is when Roger Moore walks on the heads of alligators, and when Roger Moore pops a black dude, like the black guy in Live or Let Die inflates and pops. Like that's as dumb as what we're seeing with this Nintendo Power Glove stuff. It's just totally stupid. But the one thing that is interesting in all of this nonsense, which, by the way, there is a weird esoteric Trinitarian element to this, like an inverse Trinity, because the North Korean dude says to his father, he's like, "I am your son. I am the light." So he refers to himself as the light. He says, "Let there be light." When he turns on this stupid ass Icarus thing, he says, "Let there be light," and he says, "Father, I have done this for you. You know, now we have a kingdom for you, Father." So it's this weird Christ-like imagery. But it's technological power, transhumanism. He's basically a super soldier, right? And we find out that it was mastery of the weather.
Icarus is GEO engineering, right? To melt icebergs and flood the what? I don't know. It's like, the nonsense that we're supposed to believe about what happens when the icebergs melt, right, from climate change or whatever, which they melt every year and freeze again. So it's all just total nonsense. But that's what this appears to be about. The villain is all into art of war, which is interesting. They actually do mention De Beers. So the diamond trade and the De Beers market control comes up. But it just ends up being like a really stupid comic book level thing. So I'll read a couple super chats here. People throwing these fat super chats out because it's Christmas time. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so much. Let's go back down here to Good to be the Kang. Good to be the Kangs says for $30. Bond says to Denise Richards, I thought Christmas comes only once a year. Good lines in the Brosnan era. Merry Christmas to all. Yes, Merry Christmas. Christmas Jones, baby. Algorithm 469. Jay's analysis. Anal ISIS. Sex magic confirmed. Yep, never heard that one before. Just like Denise Richards says, don't tell me any Christmas jokes. I've heard them all. Joseph Gallegos, $40. He says, Merry Christmas, Jay. You were responsible for me being interested in Orthodoxy. Now you can become an Orthodox master villain like Electra King. We can all establish a Orthodox villain empire. If I start working through the Bond films, where should I begin? Start with the first one. Go watch Dr. No. Just start with Sean Connery and work your way all the way up. But glad to hear that you're interested in Orthodoxy. Much appreciated. Somebody else gave another super chat, but I don't think it's showing up. Let's see, there was a pretty fat super chat, but I can't see if it's showing up. Maybe it was a donation that doesn't show up. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed some super chats. Excuse me. Let's go back down here. Tony G. 951. He says for $10. Merry Christmas. A new Roman Catholic convert, family of 6. Wow. Welcome to the Orthodox Church. Much appreciated. Glad to hear that. Always warms my heart to hear that. Orthodox mathematician, $1. Merry Christmas. I have questions. What can you say about the existence of mathematical objects? I think they're created. They exist in a higher realm, you could say. The realm that we could call the Aeon. This is there's a whole chapter on this in Orthodox Dogmatic Theology by Vladimir Lossky. So you can go read his chapter on the Aeon. They are created. They are created reflections of an uncreated principle or logi. So they do exist. I heard another person say that the existence of mathematical objects is problematic from the Orthodox point of view. Absolutely not. Read the chapter in Orthodox Dogmatic Theology by Lossky. Gen Z Philosophy, $10. Hash browns are delicious. Ugh. I have an unrelated question. The angel of the Lord always a theophany? I think so. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't angels in the Old Testament, but whenever we hear the angel of the Lord, most of the time that angel is specifically given worship and divine appellation. So I would say yes. For example, is Luke, Gabriel. But the word angel of the Lord, it just means messenger of the Lord, right? So that could be a human, that could be an angel, or it can be Jesus, the Logos. So it really depends on the context and not just the phrase itself. But for example, an angel of the Lord visits Daniel, and we know that that's Gabriel, right? Gabriel identifies himself to Daniel as the angel of the Lord. So I think that catches up on the super chats. We got a couple more really revelatory Bond films as we close here. We got the last two, our Dalton, even more mom Bond than the Pierce Brosnan. Did you get your Brosnan pierced? I did. And the moms love me. And when I got my Brosnan pierced, she cooked me a golden croissant. Your mom cooked me a golden croissant this morning for breakfast. Tell your mom I said thanks. It was a good breakfast. I'm making that joke because the Golden Crescent, not the Golden Croissant, the Golden Crescent is the historic area for drug trade. This is a classic book, right? Alfred McCoy, CIA Complicity in the Global Drug Trade. It's a classic book on this topic. But if you're not ready for that big fat tome, I would suggest as a introduction to black markets, Daniel Estlin, great journalist, his book Shadow Masters, which is published by my publisher, Trying Day. This is all about black markets in the world, how they work. I don't agree with everything in this book. There's a couple chapters I would disagree with. However, overall, it's a good introduction to how black markets work. And so then if you want to move on to a beefier tome, go for the McCloy. So that will be relevant to both of the Dalton installments, because what we have here is stuff that relates to Operation Cyclone, which is the CIA's usage of the Mujahideen in 1978-79 under Robert Gates and Brzezinski. So the CIA, of course, as you know, created the network or the base, which is Al-Qaeda, and they worked with the CIA against the Soviets in Afghanistan. Everybody should know this right now. It's called Operation Cyclone. If you don't know that, go look it up. It's well known. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Duh, it's well known. Zbigniew Brzezinski talked about it. If you've read Brzezinski, I have, at length. It's like, you don't even know this? All right, people don't know this, and they're like, it's a conspiracy theory. Really? This has been public information for, 20 years? Give me a break. But it's in living daylights. Now, if you remember, Reagan had the Mujahideen freedom fighters in the White House. They did a whole photo op where they're sitting there, right? You can go look up the clips on YouTube still where Brzezinski flies over there and he says, God is on your side. This is your land, right? Hyping up these basically Afghan rednecks, okay, to go fight against the Soviets. Bond does that in this. This is amazing revelation here. 1987. And this ties in with the Western propaganda of the time. So to summarize, basically, we have at the beginning the cellist, the chick that plays the cello. She is the Russian, like the best cellist in Russia. I don't know, but she is also a KGB assassin. Right? And she's supposed to kill, I forget who, General Kosyot or somebody like that, Pushkin, I forget, who is a defector. She doesn't succeed in killing him, and Bond is tasked with helping General Kosyot defect from East Germany to West Germany. They use a pipeline to sneak him over. Turns out he is a fake defector. So his defection was all to come to the West to stage some big stupid thing and mess with MI6. Now, this is not that revelatory, except that it reminds me, again, if you've not seen or read the recent installment from our buddy Mark Hackard. Mark did an excellent breakdown of the whole Yuri Bezmenov thing, right? So I'm going to put that in the links for you. We did a whole interview. Go listen to me and Mark talking about Yuri. Because, whether it's Anatoly Golitsyn or whether it's Yuri or some of these other people, you can't buy into like the oversimplified dialectics of this, right? And that's what's so amazing about the Bond stories, is that they show you, in a way, the absurdity and stupidity of the dialectics, right? Because you can't believe defector stories, not all the time, right? Because if they defect, they're now under new masters at the CIA. They have to put out these grandiose stories and tell a story for their new masters. And that's what you get with Yuri Bezmenov. And that's why Yuri, when he was putting out that information, right, when he's talking about subversion and all that kind of stuff, did you listen to the whole talk? What does Yuri say he's for? He's for Western democracies and freedoms, color revolutions, and all of these dumb right-wingers in the West love this Yuri thing. And now they oppose the very things that Yuri is advocating for. Do you remember what Yuri advocates for? Yuri says that the Skittles are being persecuted. And so the West needs to bring Skittles to the globe. And then all these dumb right-wingers love Yuri Bezmenov? Like, what? What? Anyway, to make a long story short, there's all this dumb stuff too, and like that where they ride the cello case down the Alps or whatever. I don't know where they are, but from East Germany into West Germany, right? So that's how Bond gets her out of East Germany. It turns out that is this the one with Joe Don Baker as the arms dealer? I think so, right? So Joe Don Baker is this general who no longer cares about fighting for the West or any kind of this nonsense. He just wants to deal drugs and sell arms. And then, as we said, Joe Don Baker shows up again as the CIA contact for Pierce Brosnan, right? So he goes from being general arms dealer to the CIA contact. Exactly. Tells you everything. So he's an arms trader. I think there's also hints at the organ trade, too, in this. There's some weird references to the organ trade. And then, what do we see? Bond teams up with a Bin Laden character. I'm not joking. You have this British guy, trained at Oxford, who's running the Mujahideen. Now, I'm not saying Bin Laden. No, actually, Bin Laden was, he did go to Oxford. I forgot about that. That was in the BBC. They probably scrubbed it. Bin Laden actually did go to Oxford. That's right. I forgot about that. I bet you money this is supposed to be Bin Laden. Now, they don't say who it is. I forget who it is. He's just some Afghani prince or something, right? But he's playing the type of character of a Bin Laden, right? Because Bin Laden is he's Saudi, right? He's not Afghani. I don't remember his origin, but wasn't he Saudi? And he had a time where he worked with the CIA. I think he was trained as the rest of the Mujahideen were. Oh, but now we're supposed to believe he switched sides, right? This kind of stuff. And then they hire the assassin, right? Remember him? His name's Necros, and he actually says "Smert Spionen," right? He's the one that sends the message to Bond, "Smert Spionen." Smert Spionage, excuse me, which death to spies. So I guess we're supposed to think he's Smersh, right? But there you go. Bond teams up with Bin Laden, literally, fights with the Mujahideen. They stop the Soviets, because this is 87, so this is still prior to fall of the wall. So this is still Cold War period. So MI6 is working with Al Qaeda in the movie. And you thought there was a conspiracy there. This is in the movie, dude. The reality is in this movie. The general is basically the CIA guy, right? He's not a rogue operative. And MI6 and Al Qaeda are not fighting against CIA generals. No, I'm sorry. Operation Cyclone is the real story here. Bin Laden actually was an Oxford guy. That's a fact. And then we find out that this is really just a cover operation for diamond trade and opium. Well, guess what? Who ran the opium trade when we took over Afghanistan? Oh, yeah. Not hard to figure out, is it? There you go. All in living daylights. Told you the whole story right there. Did you know? Now, let's get to the best of tonight. The most illustrative, very close to what we saw in this. Now, that was Middle Eastern focused, right? Golden Crescent area, drug trade, Afghanistan, right? Golden Triangle, that's the other area, Southeast Asia area, drug trade. Now let's look at the Latin America drug trade, because Bond gets wrapped up in that. And what happens? Wayne Newton is the front man for a sex cult, a new age sex cult. Epstein, Nexium, Crowley level stuff that is a front for drug trade. Yes. So it begins in the Key West. We have the Robert Davi. Shout out to Robert Davi and his Acne Scars villain. And Gladys Knight does the song. This is actually the next best of the songs. Right? So after World Is Not Enough, this Bond song is pretty good. I don't follow Gladys Knight and the Pips, but I thought this was a pretty cool Bond song. And they're at Felix Leiter's wedding. Shit goes crazy, and this leads to an aquarium in the Keys, down the Florida Keys. That's a front for drug trade. Now, I don't know if there's ever been an aquarium that is a front for cocaine, but it's a pretty damn good idea, right? I mean, they're using the Sequest, right, underwater stuff to just move coke. It's actually a pretty good idea. I mean, if you're going to have a front cutout, an aquarium is a pretty good one. And, Bond sniffs this out, and turns out that they're all going to some island, the island of Isthmus. Merry Isthmus, by the way. Isthmus is just, I guess, a generic, country down there. We don't know which one, but it's we're told, I think, that they are selling cocaine they're selling Colombian cocaine, but Isthmus, I forgot to look this up. I looked this up a long time ago and I literally forgot. It's just called Republic. The Republic of Isthmus is a made up Bond thing. It's a fictional Central American country that is supposed to stand for any of them, because, dude, if you are the president of any Central Latin American country, you are a drug lord. It's just de facto. Like, I don't care who you are, you just look and you just are a drug lord. Like, literally. Which I guess is just kind of like acceptable, right? It's like president, drug lord, and that's in the movie. So basically, there's this general who's got all that like general garb outfit on, and Robert Davi has this funny line where he's like, "Yeah, I own this whole country." Like, he's the shadow drug lord government that owns all the government people, and he owns the national bank, and he owns the casino, which is pretty believable. Now, the most interesting thing though is that this Banco de Isthmus, right? Banco de Cai, or whatever it's called, Cai Sal Bank, is a laundering operation for international drugs. Banco de Isthmus. And there's a really revelatory sequence where one of the guys who's trying to talk all these Yakuza people into putting their drug money into this operation, he gives this lecture to all the Yakuza guys, and he says, I don't really understand this operation, but it's kind of, I think, telling the big story. But he basically says, we have a deal where, because we run so much money through here, $10 million a day, he says, which is 80s money, right? He's like, we have a deal with the U.S. Federal Reserve, and we send all of that money to the Federal Reserve. They send us U.S. Federal Reserve credits, and then we spend that. So it's like bonds, I guess they're getting. So it's like a swap with the Fed for bonds with all this drug money. And then I think what we're supposed to gather from that, even though it's not said in the movie, the real story here is that this is a CIA bank. It's a front bank, just like BCCI. Everything that this bank is doing is the real story of the Bank for Credit Commerce International, which was a CIA drug laundering weapons front, right? That's how the Mujahideen were armed. They were directly connected to the BCCI bank. drug money as well. That's essentially what this is. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that the BCCI wasn't in this made-up country, but that's the operation that's going on here. And it gets really labyrinthine and complicated when you start looking into like how this whole big scam works. Estelin covers it here in this book, where he talks about the bonds and how the bonds are connected to the international drug trade, and the international drug trade props up this gigantic global bubble economy. It's all in this movie, right? In like movie code is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, that's the most fascinating part. Then we find out that the way this works is that Wayne Newton plays the cult leader Joe Butcher, and they have a telethon, like a PBS style telethon, where when you call into the telethon and you pledge your money, that's code for how many kilos you're ordering. So again, it's a pretty brilliant operation. I don't actually know if there's ever been a cult that used a telethon as a front for calling in your orders, but it is fascinating. It does make for a good Bond story. And this front, to me, this looks like a NXIVM Epstein operation, right? Because it's an international pyramid scheme, new age thing, right? That is a sex cult. And that's made clear when Wayne Newton tries to seduce the chick, I forget her name, but she's actually who married Richard Gere. Be interesting to know if remember all those stupid gerbil stories? She did end up divorcing Richard Gere, so maybe the gerbil stories were true. Maybe she found some hamsters, some secret pet hamsters around the Richard Gere palace. I don't know. I'm just joking, by the way. I don't know. But there you go. This whole thing is about BCCI style. And by the way, you can find plenty of present day articles that operation never quit. HSBC, Wachovia, all of those are in the news in the last 5 years of being busted for the exact same thing. I've covered it countless times. I got tired of covering it. I quit talking about it because I was tired of talking about it. And people think that like the bad guys use Bitcoin and then they buy the drugs and it's like, I heard somebody tell me a preacher was trying to trying to diss me about Bitcoin and drugs. I'm like, I bet you have money in Wachovia, dummy. Do you know what Wachovia does? Do you go look up the history of the big banks and drug money, dummy? The US dollar is used more than Bitcoins. Duh. Yes, all of them. Dude, come on. All of these big banks are drug fronts. Duh. This blew my mind. By the way, you can read Crossing the Rubicon. Because, I mean, yes, I'm not trusting everything that, what's his face, Crossing the Rubicon. I read that. I read the whole thing, like 600-page book on the history of the drug trade, all that Crossing the Rubicon stuff. That was a big eye-opener, by the way. Now, I'm not saying that that guy kind of went nuts, okay? I know that. But if you read Crossing the Rubicon, like what he says in there is obviously true. I mean, there's just too many books that come out with the same, backed up by the mainstream news about how the international drug trade works. And it's not that hard to figure out. It's like, well, oh yeah, actually all the black markets work the same way. Duh. But people don't know this. People can't figure this out. They think it's, it's conspiracy theory. Really? Conspiracy theory? Like basic espionage history, dude. All right. Any more super chats? Anybody? This made it all worth it. We did it for under 2 hours. I think License to Kill was the most revelatory. Merry Christmas, everybody. If you do want to understand, by the way, another interesting element in License to Kill was that they actually talked about how they had demographic models for marketing, I'm not joking, drugs to everybody's specific area. So they had done demographic, ethnographic research when they have a drug lord meeting, right? So there's all these elites. They meet up. It's Robert Davi, aka Sanchez, the drug lord, meeting with a bunch of Japanese and Chinese drug lords. And then they have this deal where they're going to market in everybody's region based on social engineering advertising. That's pretty wild. Exactly. That's how it's done. And what is the main distribution center? A sex cult front run by Wayne Newton. There you go. That's how the world really works. That's what's going on. By the way, the cult is called the Olympia Tech Meditation Institute. Omi. By the way, I've never heard a Wayne Newton song. I don't know anything about Wayne Newton other than that the dude looks weird. I don't know who would like that kind of music. Bizarre, weird people? I don't know. But, like I said, if I was going to be in a sex cult, it would be Wayne Newton's sex cult. So there we go. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Hope you had a good time. Vampire Frog sends $5. It says Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Vampire Frog. We've had a lot of fun. Go slob that eggnog and load up on the Soysin's Greetings soy balls. Hope you have some good Christmas soy balls. And I'll